Hey guys, welcome back to another Warhammer review. Continuing from this series, we have the Kasrkin soldier from the Astra Militarum, coming in that new box design featuring an open window allowing us to see the figure and the accessories. On the back we have a large picture of artwork featuring multiple soldiers with no other information here, while on the side we have the name of the figure and the Warhammer logo. This new box design does let us remove the entire plastic tray from the bottom with the figure secured in place. Unlike the Space Marines, this figure is tied to the box with plastic, requiring cutting out. The Kasrkin of the Astra Militarum are the best of the best soldiers, elite units from the fortress planet Cadia that was already known for their skilled military forces. These elite tactical units are highly trained in the use of heavy weapons, and are granted special war gear not normally used by regular guardsmen. They wear special carapace armor that's more effective in deflecting and absorbing projectiles. After their home planet Cadia was destroyed by the forces of chaos, the generation of future Kasrkin elite units have only used the memory of losing Cadia as a strong mental defense against the horrors of chaos. To be a Kasrkin is to hold a high position of honor that all Cadians recognize as the truth for the role they played in defending the planet to the very end. The Kasrkin elites who have fought long enough to be considered veterans are highly sought after in the Astra Militarum. They are often requested by generals and other high-ranking leaders that will only be approved if such a request is deemed worthy by Cadia's high command. Let's take a look at the details. The head is fully covered in a green helmet, with silver eye lenses and filters, with the winged skull at the center of the helmet. More gear is attached to the side of the helmet in the form of a red scope. Looking at the side, we can see how the neck is exposed, more panels in the helmet, along with that scope attached to the side with some more wiring details. Over at the chest, we have more plates of green body armor covering up most of the chest, with a few black and gray camouflage shapes. Detailing the chest is a silver-winged Imperial Aquila, as well as small silver ports and the large red port with a slight amount of dark wash here. Underneath all that armor, we have the standard issue dress shirt in a tan colored with the folded up collar. A large communications backpack is worn at the back, pre-installed and attached to the figure. Painted completely green, we have a large section of painted silver at the bottom compartment, as well as the antenna coming out of the top. Ports, panels, tubes, scratches, and a larger version of that winged Aquila from the chest can be seen detailing the back. On the right shoulder, we have a small section of shoulder armor with an additional plate underneath. Painted onto the center is the Cadian Shock Trooper logo, a requirement for all Kasrkins to graduate from. We have similar details on the left shoulder along with 3 numbers, indicating the platoon, company, and squad of the soldier. Over at the arms, we have the uniform shirt tucked into the bracers, detailed with ports and small panels. The hands are completely covered in gloves, with more panels at the back of the hand. Taking a look at the waist, we have a black belt wrapping all around the armor and dress shirt, with a large silver skull belt buckle. Underneath, we have more of those plates of armor with the similar camouflage design the chest had. The shirt underneath has a few wrinkles and a cloth-like texture sculpted in. On the left side of the waist, we have 2 black pouches resting on top of that plate of green armor. While on the right side, we have a pair of grenades hanging from the belt. And over at the back, the last small plate covers up the backside of the figure. More large plates of armor cover up the thighs and knees, and more of that green and black camouflage. Underneath, we can see the wrinkles of the uniform as they are tucked into the leg armor. We're wrapping up the details of the figure with the boots. Black leather combat boots are tucked into the leg armor, detailed with laces, sections of leather stitched together, and a rubber sole. Let's see the articulation. Starting off with the head, we have a ball joint that allows full rotation of the head, as well as a helmet and neck design that gives us a great range looking up and downward. Now, these soldiers have a small section of armor that pretty much restrict most of the range here. You can't really open up the shoulders in any range, and limits it to small, minimal use. Although we do get full rotation. It's the same with the shoulder rotation here. The small piece of shoulder armor completely restricts the range. We have double jointed elbows with a tight range, wrists that rotate and bend up and down, and while we do have a ball joint at the chest, underneath all that armor, it's unfortunate that the large plates that cover all the sides heavily restrict the range here. It doesn't matter which way you're going to bend the body, the armor will block it. We have a similar problem at the waist ball joint, that the combined looks like it would have great range if it wasn't for all that bulky armor. Taking a look at the legs of the figure, we immediately notice that the uniform acts as a skirt that blocks the range of the legs. The sides of the uniform and armor do not have any cuts at all, with the only cut being a small section at the front that doesn't really offer any more freedom of range. It's unfortunate that we are limited to an extremely small range of motion on both of the legs here. The joint allows almost no rotation at the thighs. We do have double jointed knees that bend back and have a decent amount of range. A foot that rotates, bends up and down, and twists. And lastly, a toe that bends up. The Kasrkin next to the Eliminator from this wave really shows the difference in height McFarlane Toys is willing to do when it makes a standard human-sized figure. Next to a Sister of Battle, they are almost all equal in size, and this is more of a standard size that McFarlane Toys uses for humans at this scale. Another Warhammer human-sized figure from Darktide, we have the Traitor Guard that shares a lot of similar sizes in the armor and setup for the figure. Next to Hasbro's 1/12 scale, we can see the extra inch McFarlane Toys does when compared to a more standard 6-inch size figure. Just slightly taller that sort of throws off the mix and matching of figures from different toy lines. Jada Toys runs on the smaller size of the 1/12 scale, usually matching the height accuracy of the characters they make. The McFarlane scale completely outheights any figure that would be in this 6-inch size. As the Cosmic Legions are on the larger side of the 1/12 scale, and McFarlane humans are usually a bit shorter, these pair up very nicely with each other, with the bulkiness of the armor matching up very well. For the accessories, we have a black plasma rifle with the silver front and blue plasma coils, as well as an additional handle on the back. We have a single hand in a pointing gesture, a open palmed grabbing hand meant to hold the plasma rifle. Installing the hands is simple. You can heat up the socket to remove them easily, and then socket in the new hand. We get a collectible card with the same artwork on the package and information on the character in the back, and the McFarlane basic stand with the Warhammer logo on it. The Cadian Kasrkin figure is one that I really wanted to enjoy. It looks like the perfect soldier figure to pair up with my Space Marines. It's exactly what I was looking for in an Astra Militarum figure, and it matches the look of the miniature very well. We have a decent amount of paint used on this figure, and it's actually applied very well. It's accurate, sharp looking, and no major spilling anywhere. It does seem like McFarlane Toys is trying to put some more quality into the figures, especially when compared to the Darktide Traitors and the Marines that were mostly black with very little paint and color. With the backpack coming pre-attached, the only accessory for this figure is the plasma rifle and the 2 extra hands. And for a figure of this size and price, the lack of accessories is going to be noticeable. While the pointed finger hand is great for posing, the lack of a sidearm is always a hit for pose value. My biggest complaint for this figure is the lack of articulation. Normally with McFarlane Toys, it's just the legs, and that's something that I can usually give up, but with the shoulders also having massive restriction issues, this figure starts to pose like a brick, with only a few poses that it can pull off. It's actually crazy how the bulky giant Space Marine in this wave, the Eliminator, has more range than the small human-sized soldier. McFarlane did knock the look of this figure down pretty well, with a lot of the equipment that matches the miniature, and the figure is pretty colorful. It's just very unfortunate that this figure is heavily restricted with all the heavy gear it's wearing. I would have accepted ugly cuts into the armor just to free it up, but McFarlane doesn't really operate that way, and they have always been a sculpt over range type of figure. A great looking figure that's completely hindered and restricted by its sculpt, the Kasrkin fails to be short of an amazing figure that will look great on your shelf in the default shooting pose, but that's about all you're going to get out of this figure. I would say it's definitely worth picking up on a sale. I can only imagine how amazing this figure would have been if the articulation was given more consideration. Alright guys, that's it for this review. Leave a comment letting me know how you like this figure, hit that like button, subscribe, or share this video with your friends to help out the channel.